Whoa! Boob Two Boys is back at it this week. I'm Brian Vaughn, and I am joined by Van Lee.
What do you think the words to that song were?
Oh, I'm at the club.
Or, I love people.
Yeah, something
That's
like
it. Something
dance,
vain and
feeling
pointless.
my feelings. Spencer Hendricks, he's here too.
Yeah, why am I here? What do you want from me?
Well, I have gathered us all here today.
Okay.
Actually, at your behest, Spencer,
Oh, that's right. I
to
forgot about
discuss
that.
Season 4, Episode 3 of Queer Eye.
I can't wait, actually, as it turns out.
Stoner skates by.
Yes.
We're going right back to Kansas City, too, which is where our previous Queer Eye episode
That's where my
also
heart
took
is, anyway.
place.
Does every single episode in this show have just in the title two things mushed together from the episode?
I think so, and as we're about to find out, the episode format of Stoner Skates By very closely resembles the Sloth to Slay episode format.
Well, he's fixed in 1 week. That's the main thing.
Yeah, you have a week to that centers around a big event, and you kind of go around all of the elements of the person's life and fix them up with the expert who knows that element of life best.
And everyone knows all of what's ailing these people immediately upon meeting them. Like, you can just look at someone and be like, all right, here's 5 things you need to change, and you'll be fine.
And it won't matter. You'll actually be president.
And before we get into it, I will say I found both of the main people, and we talked about Thomas last week, I found both of the main people incredibly relatable and likable. I liked both of them, and I thought they were fine as they were. Honestly, I liked them.
I like Thomas more than this guy because this guy kind of fails at a few things, in particular being a dad to a child, but he doesn't do it maliciously.
No, not at all.
He just doesn't take it. Like, you have a kid, look, you have to give up a lot of things you wanted to do.
Yeah, you
it's
can't.
just how it is.
I
That's
get you
just how it
can't. You
is.
can't sleep. You can't sleep until like noon when you're 9-year-olds in your house. But he wasn't a bad guy at all.
No.
He's a rare portrayal, I will say, like he's acting, which I'm sure he is to some degree. As we discussed in our last episode, reality TV, not so real. But
What?
he is a dad, our main character. He's a dad who is a good and bad dad. And I think you rarely see that, where he seems like a decent enough guy, very affable, but
I'd like
he
to be
just
his
is a little
friend.
irresponsible. And as you guys said, you really can't do that once you have a child, which is why the three of us are all childless.
Yeah,
I value my freedom too much. I don't want
Yeah.
a kid. Come on.
I don't want to make apple pancakes for some kid at 9 a.m.
I am a child. I'm 99% certain of it. And we've already kind of talked about it, but this episode centers on John Stoner.
John Jacobs,
I wish.
leader of the power
Fame.
team, here on Queer Eye.
John Stoner was recommended to the Queer Eye guys by his 10-year-old daughter, Lucy, who refers to her father as a man-child.
You say 10-year-old, I say grown-ass woman in a tiny girl's body. This girl is an adult at this point.
Lucy takes care of her own shit to an extent that we're going to find out, and it's kind of nuts.
Like, I half expected to see a scene where she's sitting down, like, on the porch, just exhausted with the way things have gone, smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, she's got like a waitress uniform on with a name tag. She clearly works too. Well, just like last episode, we're going to get a little rundown from the Fab Five on John Stoner before we get into the meat and potatoes of the episode, or steak and Brussels sprouts, or blueberry pancakes, or whatever food you might choose to describe an episode of Queer Eye as. So John Stoner's a 38-year-old. He's 6'5". He's divorced. He's got a big beard. He's got a lot of hair around the balding area on his head.
Yeah, he's not totally bald.
No. John works from home doing some sort of computer couch job that I don't... Is it?
He's a
did you guys
healthcare
pick that
worker?
up?
No, something with health. I couldn't tell.
It was something to do with healthcare, IT. I don't know. It was very... Or consulting in some capacity.
I do remember the word consulting being in there, which
It
is kind of
sounded
one
important.
of those buzzword
Good job,
jobs.
John.
And John, to his credit, he may be irresponsible, but whatever he's doing has afforded him a very large, nice house.
Yeah.
He's clearly making bank doing whatever.
In a
he
metropolitan area.
He largely sleeps through, but yes, he does seem to have some responsibility in that
Yeah,
area.
we get the impression we get of John, the picture that's painted, is essentially that he's just kind of doofy but lovable and, I don't know, kind of mindless in a way, in that he's just kind of going through his own routines, not necessarily thinking about other people. We learn that he sleeps in late while Lucy's trying to get ready for school.
She's setting herself on fire in the kitchen.
Yeah, Lucy has to make her own breakfast every morning, And perhaps in this little introductory scene, the thing that made me laugh out loud in this, which didn't happen often while watching Queer Eye, but Anthony, when they talk about Lucy making her own breakfast, skips right over the 10-year-old doing all this cooking before she goes off to school, being really curious about what she's cooking. In the little aside, and he just really seems to focus on that.
Is that where he gets really upset and he's like, why not just order her an Uber? Just have her take herself to school.
Well, it's kind of the extension of that, because he's basically like, what kind of breakfast? He's gone on and on about that, but then he literally says he's excited to see what dishes Lucy's whipping up, and it's like, this is a child.
If you have your specialty, you get excited when it comes up. When you're Aquaman and you're in Super Team or whatever it's called, and someone's like, oh, we got a rogue fish. You go, oh, I'm going to do this. This is me.
Or if you're the Flash and somebody's like, we just don't have enough time to get there quick enough. Me, pick me. We also get a look at John's wardrobe, which, of course, includes a shirt with a bunch of little pizzas on it. And when asked about it, he says he likes pizza, and I think that's fair.
I agree. I'd have a little pizza shirt, too.
The most notable item in John's wardrobe, of which he has a pair of, are cat suit onesies, which he wears to Kansas City Chiefs football games, where he's apparently known as Cat Suit Guy.
I'm not a football guy. We really aren't, this group, but have either of you heard of Cat Suit
No,
Guy?
and now I'm actually curious to ask some people we know that know things about football and are Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah,
I'll bet
some
Dennis
options.
knows about Cat Suit Guy.
I bet you he does. So we're going to have to inquire about
What if he's already seen... What if Dennis has already seen all of Queer Eye? What if he's like, oh, yeah, I know all about it.
Yeah, I binged it. We find out in the rundown also, just as we did in our last episode, the fulcrum by which this episode spins around. And that is that at the end of the week, Lucy, John's 10-year-old daughter, who is an adult woman, has a skating competition. So we need to get John ready to be a presentable, responsible dad in a week for when Lucy has the skating competition.
Well, here's another example of where he just really wasn't being a good dad. The mom comes in and just talks with the gays and says something along the lines of, every year, all the skate dads have one thing, 1 week into the year.
It's
all
breakfast.
cook breakfast.
It's like skating dad breakfast or something.
And he doesn't do it.
And he has never done it. And I think that's real shitty. Like, again, I have horrible anxiety, but if I had a little daughter who was into skating, I'd be so fucking into skating.
Yeah, if either of your cats, Vladimir Guerrero or Bean, were into skating, I know that you would go.
You do have a little daughter after all, Dan. You have a couple of them.
Little stupid Bean and little angry Vladimir.
Yeah, and I understood that part of it, but yes, it's clear that he's not really putting himself out there for Lucy at all.
Yeah, and that becomes the central issue. He clearly, and I mean, every one of the Fab Five kind of repeats this, but he clearly loves Lucy. He just maybe isn't quite the person he needs to be the best dad to Lucy that he could be. And Van, you mentioned this. We also meet Julie, who's John's ex-wife, Lucy's mom. And this is another refreshing thing about this arrangement, is John and Julie get along fine.
Yeah, they seem to be talking to one another and not despise one another.
Yeah, they're co-parenting, and they're doing that right. And as someone whose parents were divorced, usually they kind of play games against one another. Sometimes there's weird cassette tapes. I don't know. It's strange.
Do you have memories of that sort of thing happening with your parents?
Oh, all sorts of really, really weird stuff.
Was it strictly one-sided to the side I think it is, or was it both sides?
Oh, it's what you think.
Okay.
I got it. Yeah, it's totally what you think. We learn now also more about John's house. Just like we did with Thomas last episode, the Fab Five are going to pull apart John's home. They're going to look in every nook and cranny. They're going to pull out drawers. They're going to do everything they need to do to fix big 6'5" hairy John.
Bobby Beak loved the house too. He was like, this craftsmanship, it's beautiful. We don't really have to change anything structurally at all. Which, how would they do that anyway? Whatever.
It sounds like they could have. He's like, now
beams.
that's the $500,000 we don't have to spend on this project.
Yeah, Bobby was really excited about what he could do with what was already there. A theme we'll touch on again later on.
Bobby works way harder than the rest of them, I'm telling you. Bobby's like, Jesus Christ, I have to go renovate another backyard. You see how heavy these plants are I'm putting in the backyard?
And he does it himself, no one else.
Yes.
And he gets less screen time than the rest of the guys, too.
Yeah, you don't remember him at all until at the end. It's like, oh, you have a new house. Bobby did that.
He also probably has the least exuberant personality of the group.
Maybe he just wants to be behind the scenes working and slaving away. Like, I painted your
He's
kitchen
a hands-on
cabinets.
Man.
The cabinets are green now.
And if listeners have already heard our previous Queer Eye episode, what I'm about to say is very significant, and I accidentally dropped a little bit of an Easter egg for this Queer Eye episode. John's got a corgi, and everybody loses their shit. And you don't need me to tell you that primarily among those are Bobby and Anthony, who both believe themselves to be corgis and love them deeply.
Well, the best part for me was Anthony clutching the corgi dearly the whole episode that he's there in the house. But he also they're doing the whole spiel with the guy, the focus of the show. I already forgot his name.
John.
But Anthony is in the hallway, sitting in the floor, clutching the corgi, rocking.
Yeah, I had that too. Is we get several shots intercut of people trying to work on the house or come up with ideas, and Anthony's just has stolen the dog. And
to be fair, that's what I would do.
I would too. The dog looks awesome. But I can't, again, something about Anthony, I can't help but think he might hurt that dog.
Like he's squeezing it a little too tightly around the neck,
because of and with Thomas, he did mention a strange upbringing. So, I mean, there's no telling the depravity that might lie underneath the surface of Anthony's weird, creepy eyes. It's also mentioned in here, and this is not surprising, that Lucy is the youngest person to call upon the Fab Five.
I would hope so. Except for that toddler that called that one time. I don't see how it gets any younger than a 10-year-old.
Me want daddy clean.
And it turns out that toddler was just fraudulatingly.
I like the term. It's not real, but I love it.
I'm going to go with that. Let's stick with it. I was going to record this, but no.
No, I love it. Please stick with that.
Yeah. All right. There we go. You get the joke.
You guys know what we're trying to do.
You guys know what we're fraudulating.
Everyone loves it when you go watch a stand-up routine and the comedian up there is like, I don't know what the word is, but you get the idea.
You kind of get it. Hey, meet me halfway.
You guys are here to do part of this too.
Wait until you guys hear, even though you've watched this episode and already know, what Tan discovers in John Stoner's closet. It's a tailored suit, but inside the lining are a bunch of pictures of nude women.
Tan is not happy about that.
Tan is disgusted, and he's like, why would you do this to your only piece of tailored clothing?
This costs more than the jacket itself.
And I don't know why, but I find it kind of endearing how John just sits there with a shit-eating grin like, I kind of think it's funny.
I actually missed this both times I watched this episode. I, for whatever reason, looked away or looked at my phone or something or other. Was it straight up like naked women?
It was blurred out.
Well, okay, yeah. But was it like realistic or was it like the pin that you turn it one way and the naked lady shows up?
I think that they're naked in the way that old dudes at bowling leagues play card games with nude cards. Because they're like, we'll like this better. Hey, you know what I like to do? I'm so horny. I like to sit in a circle of fellow old men while we do kind of an athleisure activity and kind of look at these pictures of nude women we're all thumbing through together.
Gets me so hard, man.
Yeah. And then I like to bowl. Yeah, it's great.
I love bowling when I have a raging boner. I use it like a rudder on a boat. That's helped me steer the ball.
Meanwhile, while Anthony is clutching the corgi, which might be fearing for its life, Bobby's looking around in this huge house. Jonathan has put on one of the catsuit onesies and is just prancing all across John Stoner's gigantic home.
And Jonathan being maybe 100 pounds.
Yeah.
And
pretty tall.
Our guy here is a little heavier than that. Even with Jonathan wearing his regular clothes, putting on the onesie, it still was like a parachute.
It's still roomy in there, yeah. Anthony finally puts the corgi down and goes into the kitchen to talk with Lucy very animatedly about breakfast foods. He's getting very...
I like this part because this is where Lucy's like, breakfast is my favorite meal. I was like, me too, Lucy.
Which is... Yes. I don't know if this has been brought up on the podcast, but it is an actual Spencer Hendricks character trait.
Absolutely. I love Lucy. I really like everything about her. It was like, oh, you're so adorable.
Another show we should cover at some point.
Well, I don't know who's hosting that one, but I like the idea.
Ricky Ricardo.
Desi Arnaz, yeah.
I actually got confused and thought I was Puerto Rican because of I Love Lucy. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to tell the backstory. No, he is.
He's Cuban.
He is.
Isn't he?
Oh shit. I
guess we'll find out when we cover I Love Lucy later on.
Next week. No, not really.
Immediately. That's your picking for band.
Let's stop talking about this and instead talk about I Love Lucy.
Something in the historical canon of television.
I really thought
I
he was
Love
Puerto
Lucy.
Rican, but anyway.
Lucy, though, her favorite breakfast food is pancakes. Spencer, is that true of you?
No, but I like pancakes. It's not my favorite.
They're good.
Yeah.
I think we did this on a Patreon
We
show,
have.
but
We're
pancakes or waffles, Spencer?
Well, I like pancakes more than waffles, but
Okay.
I love both. And
Yeah.
honestly, neither one is my favorite breakfast food.
What is your favorite then?
Well, I like bacon and I want to crunch into some fucking meat. I want some bacon. I want some eggs. I want some fucking. I'm getting excited. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys. I want
Spencer has a huge
I want some
boner
home
right
fries.
now.
I want some home fries. Like I want some kind of the texture's important in breakfast.
What's a home fry?
That's a potato that you eat in the morning.
Oh,
Or it's like what you call your friends if you're in a quirky 2002 comedy.
What is that?
I
Is
don't
that-
know. It has to be.
Was that the
home
Drew
fries.
Barrymore
Yeah,
thing?
that kind of thing.
No, I like all kinds of the meats too. You can do anything with the grains, but the meats you can do bacon, you can do breakfast sausage. I love breakfast sausage. It has sage and a lot of salt and pepper, and there's just so many good flavors. And you can add hot sauce to your eggs. You can fry them, you can scramble them, you can put cheese in them, vegetables. I can't begin to imagine how life exists without breakfast foods.
We have unlocked which one of the Fab Five Spencer would be if we set up
Are you
our own
telling
Fab
me?
Five.
You telling me I'm Anthony? Like I would kill a
think
corgi?
By your expertise, I think that you would have to be.
I would teach them more than one meal. Here's one meal and you're good forever.
Hey, he's slow rolling it out. It's one meal per episode for years.
I guess so. I'd like to know what other meals Anthony's taught them.
here's the
What
one
if
thing I
it's the
would
same one in every
Tater
one?
tots. It's Thomas's
Oh.
idea. You put them in the microwave.
These are
microwave tater tots would be disgusting.
It'd be like a just glopped tater tot that you can drink with a straw.
I'm going to say this is somewhat controversial, I think. I'll see how you guys react.
Oh, no.
But based on what you said, Spencer, about your breakfast food thing.
well,
I
you don't get up
actually-
in the morning, so
Well,
you
I
wouldn't
don't.
like breakfast.
But no, I love breakfast food at the very least, but I also don't eat breakfast. But either way, if I do eat in the mornings, I do not like meat.
Well, that's fair. That's
I'll
actually
eat bacon
common. That's
or I'll
common.
eat sausage. I just don't. I would rather have pancakes because there's no meat, of course. But
Yeah, but
something like that.
there's no actual sustenance in
You actually said this on a recent show. You're like, I wouldn't eat candy. There's no sustenance.
Yeah.
Who eats candy for sustenance?
But
Like,
for
you're eating
breakfast,
candy for joy.
you're actually hungry when you wake up in the morning. You
No, I'm
need
not.
something to get through the rest of the day, and that's what breakfast does. If you eat pancakes, you're going to be like, all right, it's 10 o'clock. I'm fucking starving.
No way.
It was delicious.
They're filling.
No, they're not.
I don't know how your body works.
It's
but
all
it's not
sugar.
Like mine.
It's all sugar.
Whatever
You're not
food
hungry.
I put in satisfies me.
You're not fulfilled if you're only eating like cereal or like some sort of donuts. That's delicious. Don't get me wrong. I love donuts. I love cereal. I love pancakes. But that's not something where it's like, okay, all right, that gave me what I needed, and now I can tackle my day. I need meat. I need to eat a pig.
What about you, Ryan? What do you think?
So, I can't eat for the first several hours I'm awake.
Yeah, that's
for
me.
whatever the reason. But then once it's kind of skewed because I do prefer meat for breakfast, but like when I eat my breakfast, it's like not breakfast time because
Which is fine.
Yeah,
That's totally
like I
fine.
feel like it's around. I mean, I work a very standard American work schedule.
Yeah, it's real boring.
Yeah.
You're boring.
and
Sorry.
You bore me. Get out.
and but I'll be up way before then. Anxiety, can't eat for a while. Anxiety, and by the time I can eat anything.
But just let me ask this though, as Spencer was saying, do things that are sweets or whatever, does that sustain you, or is it? Do you feel
A
the same way?
pancake, I would. If those fill me a lot, and I think it's something to do
Mostly
with
it
like
just makes you go to sleep.
the flour, the like bread quality.
Well, and that's just it. Like you can do the DNA things where they tell you what your diet kind of should be. I'm thinking maybe like at least Spencer and my diet things, how we break down different types of food might be different because I get full no matter what I eat. Doesn't matter. It'll fill me up. For 12 hours.
My problem is that eating and being full don't really have much to do with each
No,
other. With
that's what's hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to put like the nutritionally packed stuff in me, so hopefully I can't eat all the other shit because I
hope
will.
Anthony listens to this part. He'd be
I
really into it.
I like all that food that's bullshit. I know that it is, and it's like it's just basically I feel the air in my stomach, but it's like but if someone gave me a pizza right now, I'd eat it. Whereas if I eat like an avocado, it's like, look, I'd love to eat that pizza, but I can't right now because there's a bunch of fat inside of me, and I feel it.
There's a bunch of green inside of me.
Plus, there's that little toy in the middle.
The pit, you just
rock hard
you play
pit.
with the pit, chew on it a little bit.
I'm quite easily entertained, apparently.
I throw it to my cats. They play with the avocado pit.
Well, it's not just John Stoner's diet that's an issue, though, according to the
Oh,
Fab
he's got a
Five.
lot of issues.
No. Bobby and the boys, all the boys, they're not really into all the sports decor
No.
that kind of permeates the entire house for John Stoner. And then they're also not really into kind of the fact John and Julie have joint custody of Lucy, and Lucy has a room at John's house, but it's not really, she doesn't really have a presence throughout the home, which seems to be another Queer Eye theme.
Well, see, this is
Which I
another-
kind of get. I do, as someone who's been in relationships where it's kind of like, it's not really my place to live, you know, like in terms of that end of it.
But the question then becomes, did Lucy even want that or not?
Right.
And also, what's wrong with, I don't have sports memorabilia in my house, despite being a sports guy, baseball guy in particular, but I don't have a qualm or a problem with a guy decorating that way.
I don't think that's
either.
bad. I understand where they were coming from, but I think that the theme in these two, and that could very much so be something that isn't present in all the other episodes. The ones we watched, it was really like they were trying to tell this person to grow up. One is significantly older than the other, but I don't know that having sports memorabilia is a sign that you're not mature. Now, he maybe not have been, but
I don't think he's a mature guy, but I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that he likes sports.
And it's also ironic that a show about 5 gay people helping people change their lives or whatever has problems with conformity or non-conformity, I guess, saying you should be like this.
Don't express the things you like because I don't like them.
Exactly. And it's like, come on, isn't that the crux of the problem gay people have had for years?
And I think it really is just kind of what the show's trying to do is some sort of sophistication line, which is another thing that I don't like and seems classist to me, is the idea that like to have a more expensive, more thoroughly obsessed over and taken care of physical item is inherently better, which I think is just kind of like, I don't know, the guy might have an old football he likes and that brings more joy to him than like a really manicured t-shirt or whatever. I don't
Well, it also plays into what Spencer said in last episode, which is the show has its arc and it wants to present it as, okay, we accomplished our goal. He's better now. And that's an easy way to do that, is to say, well, we changed your living space, so clearly we fixed it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's an easy fix. It's kind of like how when I'm down or whatever, the first thing I'm going to do is like pick my house up because it's an easy win. Like I can't fuck it up.
It's true. And that's, for me, that seems like a thing where I will shit on that. I'll be like, what difference is that going to make?
That's what I do too.
But when I do it, it really
depression.
does help. Like I'm like, okay, I feel better that I did that. I mean, I know it's not really an answer, but at least
it also
I did
partially
something.
is because it represents you like doing anything.
Right, yeah, because it seems like, what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And this is a natural transition into Karamo talking with John about what might be going on with
I think he did better in this episode than that one where I was not happy with him the first one. He was more on point in this one.
I think it helps that John's a fully grown adult. He's 38, he's not 21. So he openly says right away, like, I know that I've got some health problems as I've gained weight. He admits he should have shown up to some of the skating dads breakfasts and things like that. I mean, like, John Stoner knows he's ready to change, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. And Karamo has more to work with there when formulating his plan. It's at this point that we discover that while Anthony was busy with his breakfast thing with Lucy, Bobby stole the corgi. So Bobby's got the corgi now, and he goes over all the wasted space while holding the corgi and talking with John and Lucy to kind of be like, you've got a really nice house, because Bobby thinks that the whole time. What can we do with this house? And
where can we put the mannequin?
Where can I put another house's worth of money of stuff? Cut to the Fab Five's Fab Loft in Kansas City, where they outline each of their plans for John. Anthony wants John and Lucy to share an intimate meal together. Bobby wants Lucy to have her own space in the house. Tan, he wants to find a happy medium between the extreme playfulness of John's wardrobe and something a bit more adult. Jonathan would like to redirect John's sports passion right into figure skating. And Karamo knows that John loves Lucy, but he's got to get to the core of why he's being irresponsible. Once again, Anthony gets his grubby mitts on a restaurant's kitchen, and he leads John to a place called The Sundry. He's gotten them in there so they can learn how to make pancakes, which is, of course, Lucy's favorite breakfast. John gets better at it, and the main reason why is Antony quickly picks up on the way to really focus John is to teach him how to flip a pancake, and then he'll get so giddy and excited that he'll just keep flipping it over and over and demanding a high five each time.
The one time he laughed about I made an omelet pancake, or whatever it was.
Taco pancake.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Because it folds in half or whatever. We covered this on a Patreon episode talking about each of our cooking, but I kind of identified here and how amazed I am when I do things right while cooking something, since I don't have a very broad skill set yet. So it was nice to see John delighted at simply flipping a pancake.
A lot of the complaints I had last episode are still
They
here,
still apply.
but it's not as crazy. Like, again, he taught him pancakes. That's fairly simple that you can do.
It's also not prohibitively expensive.
Exactly. So I feel like this was a better choice than gourmet steaks and Brussels sprouts, which can be hard to cook. And
which
again,
does sound delicious.
I didn't say this last episode,
meal.
too. Vegetables. A lot of people, particularly in the U.S., because that's what I'm familiar with,
don't eat them.
They're like, oh, I hate broccoli. Broccoli's disgusting. It's mushy. It's blah, blah, blah. Because in the 50s and on and up, people cooked vegetables like that by boiling the shit out of them.
Yeah.
And it's disgusting. Learn to cook broccoli, learn to cook Brussels sprouts vegetables, and they're amazing. They're so good if you do it right.
I like just fucking steaming them. That's all you have
what
to
I do.
do.
Just a little steam. I don't like to steam them too much because I like a little crunch.
It doesn't
salt
take
and pepper,
much.
That's it.
Just
They're
a few
amazing.
minutes.
That's it.
But you boil
a little
frozen
salt and
broccoli,
pepper,
it's disgusting.
honestly, just does a lot for vegetables, too.
Butter, too. Those three things. If you have those three things in your kitchen, you can make some really good shit.
There are excerpts from this episode specifically that sound like we're just an entirely different kind
My
of podcast.
favorite thing, which is like I was laughing at when it wasn't even appropriate, is when you said, I forget the exact word, but something like, Karamu had the right of it there. And I was just thinking about, like, I wish we could take that line out and say, this is what's going to happen when we started this podcast. Say, this is something Brian's going to say.
Karamo had the right of it
Something
there.
like that about, Karamu was right.
Do you guys think Tan has the right of it?
Tan has never had the right.
He's taken John to a place called Houndstooth.
I actually think
to look at clothes.
He did a better job with Thomas than he did with Jonathan Stoner. Like,
Agreed.
I didn't think Jonathan
Easier
needed to
body
be
type
in
to
that.
work with.
True. He didn't need to be in the stuff. Like, he looked so stiff and awkward when he came out in the fancy stuff.
As an enormous monster, I will say it's really hard to find good clothes.
Well, Tan, the first thing he does is say, no more nude women on your clothing.
Well, just remove everything good about life. Come on.
We're looking for a more mature version of the casual look, and that part's actually similar to how we saw Tan handle Thomas on our last episode. So we again get a casual look. We don't have Tan Handler. We again get a casual look and a formal look for John Stoner. And the suited look, he actually did. Tan gave John an interesting item, which is a knitted tie, which I don't think I've ever seen before.
I hadn't either.
I thought it was kind of cool. I don't know how it looked on Frankenstein, but
I was going to say, I don't think that guy should be wearing anything formal, but...
No, I'm not sure that he wanted to.
He looked weird in it.
If someone's grandmother made me a knitted tie, I'd wear the hell out.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's an authentic one. It didn't cost like $100.
True.
That's probably like a low.
What was the place? Houndstooth?
Houndstooth.
Which is Bosk's ship in Star Wars, by the way.
Wow. I'm really pumped that Bosk got brought up on this Queer Eye episode of Boob Tubers.
He's a good bounty hunter. He's really polite. He doesn't wear shoes indoors. Awesome guy.
I like how that's a defining trait that makes him a good guy.
Well, on the Death Star, he's not wearing shoes. He's the only bounty hunter. Dengar's fucking wearing his shoes.
That is considerate, you're right.
Dengar has poor foot hygiene.
And he looks like garbage.
Well, another place that you wouldn't wear real shoes is the skating rink, which is where we're headed next.
Yeah.
Jonathan's going to go skating.
This got me super psyched, by the way.
With
This
Lucy
part of the
and
show.
John.
Oh, yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, so we see Lucy doing some figure skating, and clearly we can find out she's incredible.
Yeah.
She's a 10-year-old girl, and she's like moving around with confidence, doing a single axle.
She says the shit she says, like there were a couple expressions she had that she talked about her dad where it was like, why, how are you 10 years old and you said that?
Yeah,
and
you're
then
very wise, Lucy.
And then she's cooking all these breakfasts for herself and her dad. It was like, fuck, Lucy, you're ridiculous. She's amazing.
Oh, one thing I totally forgot is Jonathan Van Ness was talking to, I believe, the guy, John Stoner, and said something along the lines of, I'm not going to do the voice, but he said, you know...
Please do the voice.
You know what a strikeout is. And Lucy doesn't. And the way he said it, I just remember thinking like, well, you clearly don't know what a strikeout is.
No, he seems to know a lot about like Olympic sports, but I doubt is like
he does. He's name dropped earlier when they're talking about skating.
When he's working on her hair.
Yeah,
or whatever.
he's working on Lucy's hair, and Jonathan name drops Chrissy Yamaguchi and Oksana Bayul.
Right.
Two 90s figure skaters who I know a lot about as someone who watched a lot of 90s Olympic figure skating and participated in living room skating reenactments with his sister.
I understand why you never told me this.
I think I have, but but then again, you might have blocked it intentionally.
I know Brian Boitano.
But yeah, I do as well.
That's it.
Scott Hamilton.
Well, and a name that's relevant later.
Yeah. Well, yes, obviously. Well, Lucy's awesome at skating, but no one else involved in this scene yet has any experience. But Jonathan's still confident.
This is the second time I'm ever going to take the ice.
Oh, man.
But I am catsuit guy of figure skating.
Okay.
That's how you relate to the person you're talking with. He's like, I know you're famous for being almost nude and wearing a skin-tight catsuit at football games. Well, I am the equivalent of that at skating.
I like John's response where he goes, "Oh man,"
which is as good a response as anything, really. So they're all kind of skating around, Lucy the most confidently. We see Jonathan slowly skating in all black with a cape and an evil mustache.
I forgot about his poncho that he was wearing.
At this point, like, nothing about Jonathan we talked about how Jonathan's kind of the most, like, outwardly gay. Well, at this point, he's the most outwardly looks like Dracula. While he's like skating across the ice with that look. And I was kind of frightened, actually. Oh, but what's that? All of a sudden, it's Olympic medalist Michelle Kwan, who skates up all of a sudden and is now in this episode to help Lucy with her skating and fix that single axle. This is kind of a big get, I would think.
I would think so. I recognized her. I genuinely know who that was, and that surprised me.
I was shocked.
I did not recognize her.
I thought she was kind of, I don't know, it's not snotty, but like a little pushy with the girl.
I didn't feel like she really connected with Lucy, actually. I feel like Lucy was not that impressed by it. I
don't think so either.
The
but
idea
again,
was amazing, yes.
What we're seeing on camera, they already all knew and had met, probably.
Right.
So, like,
they probably already did all that, yeah.
Which kind of sucks because, like, I would have thought it would be cool to see the scene where Lucy meets someone who was at the height of the thing she wants to do. And we're going to be at the height of the thing we want to do, which is continue this episode after this break. Michelle Kwan is obviously even more impressive than Lucy. Just flying around that ring.
I don't know how her pancakes are. I have to taste them.
That's kind of how we find out the key, or Jonathan does, to getting John interested in figure skating.
Is Michelle Kwan.
Which is to watch Michelle Kwan figure skate.
I mean, it would get me interested in figure skating.
It's fair enough. Next, Bobby and Karamo take John to a gym. And afterwards, he does not have to knock down any sort of crates.
No, because he's ripped at the end of it.
Yeah.
One workout session, and he's like, "Oh, John, Jesus, you're so huge."
He was on the power team.
Did you see him bench press Karamo? I couldn't remember their names.
They're getting on treadmills. They're lifting weights where John's poor belly pops out. They're doing all there is to do at this gym this one day, and hopefully John can continue to do this. He doesn't want to be there, as I wouldn't either, but he is trying and putting forth the effort, and the Fab 5 or the Fab 2 the Terrific 2 in this situation they're very happy he's putting forth the effort. Bobby and John also have a discussion here about the fact that it is more difficult to get into a good, healthy routine when you work from home.
The ominous one.
Very true.
Yes.
The Terrific 2.
The Terrific 2, yes, the ominous
Thrifty
one.
3?
The ominous one is if it's Anthony and he's holding a corgi in a dark hallway.
What's 4? What could be a good 4 one?
Fab 4, like the Beatles.
That's
the same
Then
thing,
you have the Fab 5.
The same thing, except just one down.
Terrific 4.
I will say,
one of them.
I will say, I actually do think it's easier to do just absolutely nothing when you work from home. It's just like, I minimal effort. So John was doing that with the kid there.
Yeah, like for me now working from home, the fact that I just don't work on my feet instantly meant weight gain. Like, because I'm just sitting there all day.
Anytime I get a job, which sounds like I'm constantly doing, where I'm on my feet, I will lose 20 pounds instantly.
This is what always seems to happen to me as well. I don't know why.
Because when I don't have to, I'm not getting off my butt. No way.
It sucks getting off your butt.
I don't get up unless I really have to. In general.
John's about to get more exercise, though. Thankfully, he does a scooter ride with Karamo to go get some coffee and talk about life. John opens up a little immediately, saying, "You know what? It's been a few days. You guys are good guys.
I'm depressed.
I like you guys." And
I hated you at first, but here we are.
And also, you're gay.
He pretty quickly opens up and says, like, "I don't really know why I've kind of checked out with Lucy. I guess I kind of felt like she is a tiny adult and handles her own shit, so I wasn't really that needed."
And I didn't think about her burning herself on the stove while she made those pancakes while I slept all day.
He does kind of open up quickly and say some deep stuff. He talks about being depressed. I don't know if that's exactly here in the show.
It is.
It was fascinating and kind of enlightening.
This is probably like the most touched I was at any point watching any of this, because he does seem to very candidly talk about the sort of depression I find really identifiable about.
Did you write down what he said? I have a thing that he said that I completely understood completely. Like, let's see here. So he said he was just following the script, and then it didn't work, and he kind of gave up.
Yes,
and
that was the part I loved. Yeah.
Wow, I feel that. I understand what you mean, Jonathan Stoner.
As someone who literally, personally should never have done any of the real life normal people things and tried to for 10 years, I totally get that. Like, you try to go through the motions, check all the boxes, it doesn't work, and then what are you? And I think John is that way, but he's got a kid to raise.
Then you're just a man in a cat suit at a Chiefs game.
With a nude woman-lined suit.
Wait, this sounds awesome.
Yeah, it kind of does.
No, I wouldn't be caught dead in a onesie out in public. A form-fitting onesie? Oh.
Fortunately, we find out John has seen a doctor, so he's on meds now. And he apparently also had a gout issue, and because of that, had to quit drinking, which he was using as a crutch. So John,
there is some
John
scenes,
knows there's work to be done.
There's some scenes where he's like swilling beer. You know, he's opening his Bud Light. I forgot about that until you mentioned that. Yeah,
which it would be a Bud Light, Missouri. And John also admits he's been a silent sufferer, a true Missouri man, telling no one of his depression and instead just not treating the people in his life right. But he does say that he has opened up a little bit to Lucy. He's not discussed it with Julie, the ex-wife, or anyone else.
I'll tell my 10-year-old, but not my adult ex-wife.
This was a big moment for John, and he initiates a hug with Karamo to end the scene. Good little scene here. With
Two
John.
giant men just clutching on
a couple of 6'5" monsters. Now that this emotion has been released, it's time to look hot. So we cut to the salon.
Way ahead of you.
We cut to the salon where Jonathan greets us with, "Gonna start on your beard, King."
Jonathan does this thing where he touches a lot. And I understand, you're going to have to touch a beard to trim it or whatever. But he's up in this guy's beard and hair. And he did the same thing to Thomas. He's just very comfortable touching people. I'm not.
There's a scene earlier in this episode when he's first examining, and I get it, you're looking like this is the beard and hair I'm going to be working with. I don't think you need to then pick through it like some sort of baboon.
Like a monkey picking lice off his head.
Yeah, it was really strange to me how hands-on exactly he is. And this scene kind of brings that home more, as he does like a lot of grooming to John, and a lot of it's effective. But first,
that's how monkeys communicate with one another.
He has to go over with John what he wants, including what his plan is for his mustache.
Easier to fasten my top buttons.
For sure. Do we want to keep your mustache?
It's been getting in my chicken wings.
That is a problem. It's a big problem.
And this is another moment where I did laugh aloud upon hearing it. And it is a problem. You don't want to get a lot of wing sauce in your mustache.
No.
I have to shave the mustache regularly because I don't like it if it touches my
I have to
lip.
get the bottom part.
Yeah,
or else it sticks out like I'm some sort of Civil War general or something like that after enough time goes by. And it's not very much time.
Plus, you lost all those limbs in the war.
Yeah, we need Jonathan to come pick through all of our hair. They talk about skating here. Jonathan again tries to impart the importance of John getting into skating. And then once he gets John good and groomed, and I will admit, the grooming situation, I don't know about the clothing, John Stoner looks a lot better here.
Just trimming that beard up. That's why I
Trimming
don't like wild
and the hair.
beard.
The
I
hair's
think the
trimmed
hair,
up.
yeah.
And
The balding was hidden a lot better with that haircut that they gave him at the end. I think that was perfect for what he needed to do.
because like they didn't even mess with the hairline. They just made it to where it wasn't
Yes,
like
it
a
was
wall of bald
perfect.
up to a wall of hair.
It was perfect. Yeah, it's like if you're not going to completely shave
Then
your
that's
head,
what you should do.
That's the way to go.
Yeah, and he looked really nice, and I think Jonathan thought that too, because this begets a sequence of Jonathan mentioning how maybe he'll become Lucy's stepmom, and how that might be really difficult to have Jonathan as a stepmom. Part of it felt like Jonathan might be feeling out if that was possible. I'm not really sure. And then that got me to thinking about the possible spinoff of Jonathan and John, where they have their own show raising Lucy, and I think I might watch that.
John
Oh,
Square.
that sounds great.
Yeah, I think
I
it would
was
be pretty
also
interesting.
laughing at the idea, at the end he starts opening up to everyone about his mental issues, and I was laughing about Jonathan. He's so big and burly and manly. I wish he would have been like, and I'm gay. I wish that would have been like one of his confessions at the end of the show with the Fab Five around him.
You've made me realize I've been putting on a fake persona this whole time, and truly, I am different and grateful to you.
I also have to mention this. It doesn't happen in the episode, but it was like a fantasy I had in real time in the episode. For some reason, I thought it would be really funny if when he was done grooming John, if Jonathan called him a handsome barrel. I don't know why. I wanted it to happen though. We're going to go back to John's house now, and everybody, the Fab Five and Lucy, and later Julie, they see John's look and they're kind of amazed at the transformation that's taken place. Everybody agrees that it's better, but no one is as excited right now as Bobby, who is basically about to jump out of his shoes to unveil what he calls affectionately Lucy's Lounge, which is Lucy's new presence in the home. And it is really cool. There's a
the hammock, yeah.
a big stuffed giraffe. There's candles, a big old marker board. I love marker boards. But the scene stealer for me here is Bobby getting really pumped to show it to Lucy. I don't know why, but I found that really endearing.
Yeah, he was very excited. And I'll tell you, hammocks are one of the greatest
They're
things
amazing.
ever. They're so nice. Till you try and get out and you're rolling around and you flop on the ground.
Yeah, it was easier when I was like 12.
And had agility, yeah.
Yeah, it's not so easy now. As we saw last episode, the house is kind of revamped. This one needed a little less of it, essentially, because John has an awesome
They have
house.
money.
Yeah, so they put in new lights and decor in the kitchen, new bed set, and John loves all this. And, John, for all the typical Missouri man things about him, he's very open. Like, he's very open
That was
to
the
change.
first thing I laughed about with him is like, that's, again, I mentioned this earlier, but you look at him and he doesn't seem like the kind of guy who's going to want 5 gay guys in his house. But they come in here and he's like, oh, yeah, and he hugs them all. He doesn't care. He's like, he's really welcoming to all of that stuff.
Yeah, he seems like a cool guy, and he honestly, like, he's excited about all this, and he's a man of few words, kind of like Thomas, but his excitement plays out on his face a lot more.
And as I mentioned last episode, there was a bit of a synopsis of the series, this reboot series, saying, they're going to take on red states. So I expected some nasty, Trumpers.
I kind of did too.
And obviously, you're not going to really do that because it won't be good.
But
it's far different than I anticipated.
I kind of would like to see Karamo beat the shit out of like a Trump voter.
Yeah, that'd be great.
No, the
that'd be
Fab
fun.
Five could take, they could hold their own.
I think so. They're all in very good shape.
You guys remember how that army of gays from 21 Jump Street tried to put
Yeah.
in? I mean, they're dangerous.
Yeah, they were.
So maybe quit
vicious.
fucking with them, everybody.
That's right.
God.
Let people be. Let them be gay as they want to be.
Bobby also mentions that in this house renovation, the bedroom actually has lower ceilings, so he hangs the curtain rods higher. And I genuinely was like, that's cool. I wouldn't have thought of that. It gives the illusion of it being the same height as the rest of the house.
Yeah, that's those weird interior decorator people. They always have those thoughts.
Karamo's impressed.
Bobby
not
does
by-
a lot of work, by the way.
He does.
I want to
really
remind
does.
you guys, Bobby works hard.
I'm an episode late, but I'm not surprised neither one of you mentioned the mirror from the last episode.
Oh, yeah.
Because
yeah.
Thomas hung at his height, which
Yeah.
is
And
5'5"
Bobby was like,
tall.
Bobby
Yeah.
made fun of him. He's like, Thomas, why the fuck is your mirror at this level?
We got to get this to where if you ever make a fucking friend, they can see themselves in the mirror unless they're a Dracula, like Jonathan, whenever they come over.
I empathized because one apartment I had years ago had low mirrors, and for me to do anything, I had to shrink down, and it was very uncomfortable.
This has been a thing, and I know I'm just an average height person. I'm not 6'4" as you are. but I grew up with 5'2" people, my mom
Your
and
sister and
sister.
your mom.
So basically anything needed to be adjusted for me to use it, even before I was my current height.
Yeah, it's weird. The house I'm in, the ceilings are only like 7 feet. So if you're
That's right. Yeah.
if you're like even like 6'6", you're gonna constantly walk around feeling like,
Hunkering.
wow, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like you couldn't live in that place. Like it's fine for me, but I feel like I'm a giant person.
Well, but
when
what
I
about
open
when
my
you hit your growth
closet,
spurt?
I feel like when I open my closet, it's like it's a toy. Like everything inside is like I'm just some big ogre, and I'm invading some kind of like play country.
Wouldn't it be funny if, like, since you do work from home and we've been through a pandemic, you like emerged from COVID thinking you're gigantic and the most strong person from being only in your small house?
Go anywhere and see that that's not the case.
It's one of those situations where every glass you pick up you think is full, so you lift it up harder than you need to, and it like flies out of your hand. It's not just the house that's been renovated, though, because Karamo's noticed a difference in John, and
Of
he's
course.
very proud of all the openness John displayed. So am I, honestly.
Yeah,
Didn't
that-
even take a pile of boxes.
It was
No.
pretty affecting when he opened up to his ex.
Yeah, it was. And we're about to see that scene. And I will say, even before he opens up to Julie, John says to Karamo here, like, everyone, he just kind of says it as a stray thought, and I think we'll all identify with this, where he's just like, everybody just thought I was lazy. And I think when you're depressed, that's when everybody else, doesn't have the same stuff going on, or they have different interests that suit the real world better. They think that's what depression is.
Well, my former boss, bless him, his name's Mark. I won't go further than that. Mark never dealt with depression, to my knowledge. He's hiding it great if he does. But he is always like gung-ho, working hard. He works 20 hours a day. And he could not fathom it when I was just like dead because I'd be in such a depression funk or whatever. And he was like, well, what do you need to do? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's no...
If I knew that, I wouldn't be depressed.
Yeah, there is
Yeah.
no need to do.
He simply didn't get it.
And
He
that's
just
and
couldn't connect
he's
with
he's a guy that I've known, and I believe that he would have your best interests in mind.
it.
Right.
Absolutely. Like,
Yeah.
he wasn't doing it
They
maliciously. He
can't
just couldn't
understand.
understand it.
Yeah.
And thankfully, though, Karamo, he does. He gets it.
I thought you said Columbo gets it. I was like, I
Oh, he
understand
wouldn't
you
get it.
depressed.
Sometimes all the pressure mounts up. You don't have time to cook eggs. Your wife's sick. She's tired of
So
bowling.
you murder.
Listen, me and the other gays are thinking about getting together at the arcade and helping out this guy Thomas. What do you think?
We've reached the part of the episode where Columbo steps. No,
I wish.
We've reached the part of the episode, though, where we get our main character, so to speak, ready for the big day. So that means getting John ready for Lucy's skating competition and getting the Fab Five ready to be creepy voyeurs and watch John get ready for the skating competition. But before they do that, once again, Tan needs to dress John. They go with a casual black jacket look, some black pants, and a gray t-shirt. They all rave about it. And you know what? John's impressed with himself, too.
Look at that gorgeous smile.
We're going from the cat suit to the catwalk.
Fuck yeah, John.
Pretty pumped at
That's
that
a good
one-liner.
line.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good line.
I bet he worked on it for weeks.
I bet so, too. And he looked pumped to deliver it, too, which, again, made me like John.
Well, it's good. I mean, he had something to be excited for.
Yeah.
And he, like you guys said, he really did look like pretty great at the end of that. Like
I thought he was hot.
When they
Yeah?
when they found the right fit for him and got his hair the way it should be, like, yeah, he.
There should be naked hymns on the inside of other people's jackets. The family is here also. We get a little bit of footage of them checking out the house. Julie, the ex-wife, and Lucy, the daughter, both excited. They think this house is awesome. They think John looks great, as I mentioned before. And Lucy's lounge goes over very well. And Bobby, again, I mean, he's lost no enthusiasm. When he shows it to John and Lucy, he just fucking loves it. He gets philosophical about the need to have one's own space. I kind of want Bobby to open up more.
You know what? You know what? You convinced me. I think I would date Bobby.
He's not an open book. You got to crack the spine and learn to love him.
But he gets excited when he finds something to focus on.
He does. And that's actually the Queer Eye theme for me, is when people showed enthusiasm, I liked it.
Yes.
And I sometimes I struggle to have that. So I think that's why, partially also. John tells Karamo this is the best week ever, and he can't wait to show his friends, show people. And then he kind of goes into one of those movie speeches of where he's like, I won't let the Fab Five down.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
I kind of liked it, though, because, again, sincerity a little bit. The Fab Five gathers around not to cook steaks together, but this time blueberry pancakes with various fruits and watch Lucy's figure skating competition. But first, we get video of John making pancakes for Lucy before skating, which seems like the worst thing you could possibly eat before...
You gotta carb up before you start doing stuff like
athletic competition. I feel like Lucy would be, as she does an axle, she'd be spewing pancake in a sprinkler motion into the crowd.
Everyone just has to skate over it the rest of the day. It's just the pancakes stuck to the ice.
I'll meet you back at the house. I need to clean Lucy's vomit out of my skates first. We also get, that's not the only thing the Fab Five watch on video, though, because they need to watch John open up about his depression to Julie very candidly.
And he doesn't really segue it very well. He's like,
No.
you know I've been depressed, right? She's like, no, you've never told me this.
Yeah, and she's like, no, I didn't. Well, I'll be supportive, and it's all taken care of in 5 minutes. That easy. This scene, as much as anything, reeked of like, you guys have talked, so let's just do a little recap. You say this, you say this.
This is for the audience to be happy with the way this ended up. And that's it.
We need to put a nice little bow on
And she
it.
has that whole thing, where she's like, well, you know, we're in this together, and hugs him. Yeah,
Even though we're not, because I divorced your ass.
I definitely.
Where's my check?
I definitely did decide that I didn't want to be with you.
That's what happened.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, John didn't initiate the
No.
divorce. So now we're going to the skating competition, and thankfully for Lucy, Michelle Kwan is not competing in this child's competition. John, God damn it, he tries his best to give some tips. Something about like, Lucy, you gotta raise your arms. I know, I used to be a high jumper.
Flap them a lot.
Are there 6'5" high jumpers?
No,
That
I
seems
don't
like a
think so.
small man.
No way.
I can't
Athletic
jump at
competition.
all. At all.
You also have no knees.
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
can't imagine John has knees, though.
No.
Julie and John watch Lucy's skating competition together like good, responsible, divorced parents. They don't fight once. She's awesome the whole time. So awesome that she wins the thing and gets flowers.
And it's pretty clear that she's heads and shoulders above the other contestants because they show a few of the other little girls, which these are 10-year-old girls. I mean, let them be bad.
Yeah,
They
and
wanna be
they're-
bad.
they're
but
all-
she's way better.
They're all wonderful for what they were doing.
That's right.
It was great.
The girl who won second place, by the way, because they do the Olympic-style pedestal
Yeah, it's
thing.
basically Mario Kart at the end, where there's like a
is.
big fish trophy and everybody stands on a pedestal.
And the girl who won second place had hit her growth spurt before any of the other girls because she was like twice the size of everyone else.
It's like, it's 10 and under competition or 14.
She looked like a big Kansas farm girl.
She probably was.
Yeah, considering where this took place at, exactly.
She's eating all that hay.
Once she's done, she's taken off her skates, and we get a nice moment where John's really proud, and he says, I'm going to keep doing better for you, Lucy. And now we get a 3 months later title card, which to me signifies we're going to check up on John and Lucy. Nope. That's just what I hoped it would be. And instead, it's just a couple of intercut shots of Jonathan ice skating around to what I swear to God is an instrumental, electronic, wordless version of that Bloodhound Gang song. We're doing it like animals or whatever.
Bad touch.
Bad touch, yeah. I really believe that it was. Maybe with like a changed note.
I'll have to listen to that because I didn't recognize it, but it did trigger something like that song. This
Yeah.
sounds familiar.
Yep.
I hope
But also,
so.
I was disgusted at what I was watching.
And then we get the credits, and that's it, guys. That is our Queer Eye experience.
Oh, man.
I would like to get both of your
please
final
do.
thoughts. I'm going to present mine first.
No.
Because I always go last
You're
when I do
mad.
this.
Why are you trying to be
No.
so aggressive here? I want
It's,
to talk first.
Spencer, normally you like for someone to take
You're
charge.
right. I do. I love it.
Yeah.
Please talk.
All right. So I want to say about this episode that the title was really misleading and that there were
was.
the stoners and the skating mentioned in the title, not the same kind.
I
Stoner
didn't
was
know.
a name, skating
I
was
didn't
ice
know.
skating.
I didn't know.
But that's okay because John Stoner's cool and so's ice skating. My thought on Queer Eye in general, and we kind of did this last episode up top, is that it is a reality show, and my knowledge of that now is that they're kind of limited in substance. They're meant to be churned out and consumed quickly and in bulk. And that's kind of it. That said, I've kind of talked about all of the things that I find to be shortcomings with the reality genre, so I don't really need to do that more. I'd rather focus on Queer Eye specifically and say that I am a little bit of a sucker for self-help things, probably because I'm a depressive guy.
Yeah.
So like when there's enthusiasm, when people are showing effort at getting better, I just kind of like seeing that sort of
It's
thing.
heartwarming, yeah.
So that part,
Uplifting, yeah.
those aspects of it worked well. The thing that got on my nerves probably the most, the staged nature of a lot of it. And then Spencer's already kind of alluded to this, but the idea that like, there are certain things that if you like and make them part of your personal style or personal preferences aren't okay because children might also like them or whatever, like gaming or sports teams and things like that. But overall this would have to be in the upper echelon. I mean, I am no one to judge in terms of reality show inoffensiveness. Because I mean, Van, you've talked about it at length in private and on the show about reality shows you've witnessed where everyone's a garbage bag person.
And that wasn't the case here.
No. And that's kind of my piece on Queer Eye. They were a little bit laborious for me because
They're a little heavy-handed sometimes.
they're a little heavy-handed, but like, I think mostly for a show that's largely about money and lifestyle, I think mostly the heart was in the right place.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree. I honestly feel like it was emotional for me because it doesn't take much to affect me emotionally. I feel sincerity in the message that they delivered. There was, we haven't seen anything but these two, so I'm assuming that most of them are like this. But the Fab Five are generally well-meaning people, and you can feel it. I don't know. They probably don't truly understand the plight of an actual person that they're trying to help. But the concept is sound, and I like the approach they take. It is not believable at all that you can come in and fix someone for, in 7 days. It's not possible. And that part I hated. I hated that they were like, look at the strides he's taken in these 3 days we've been here.
Kind of cheapens what people like all of us do to get by.
Yeah, that is bullshit. Like, that part is not real at all. But they really did mean it. And how I introduced the show when we talked about it at the end of the last Saved by the Bell episode is that it seems like all these people do have some sort of expertise. You can debate it with some of them, but they seem to be relatively respectable, like in a sense. I liked that they all had some knowledge. Bobby certainly redid entire homes.
Yeah, there's never a point where Anthony's like, I know what we should do for your diet. Let's go to Denny's. They do know something, clearly.
I like that they all had sound advice. I don't know that it would actually work in the situations that they presented, but you've got to do that for TV, so I don't hold that against them. I wouldn't watch it, but it's like I Van won't like this, but I kind of think of it a lot like I do House, which is like once I watch one, I feel like, man, I might watch another.
And lots of active shooting situations.
I would love to see the Fat Five take on a shooter. But yeah, it's one of those things where I get what the writers were going for and the actors are doing their part. I saw the whole thing come together. I didn't have any problems with it, and there were parts of it that emotionally connected with me. It's not perfect, but
none of them come across as total quacks.
No, I think it's a perfectly acceptable concept, even if I don't think there's any way to execute it perfectly because they're asking for something that's impossible. They're asking for let's find somebody who's a complete mess and we're gonna fix everything in 7 days. That's ridiculous. It doesn't work that way. But if they're gonna do that, they presented it in the best possible way they could. So I knew it was ridiculous, but I liked it for what it was.
I think the best way to describe it was inoffensive.
Yeah.
That's what I would go with.
You can watch this and not come out like a worse part. I feel like there are reality shows you could watch and then be like, I'd like to treat people like shit now.
You need to take a shower afterwards. No, it was inoffensive. I thought it was just boring overall. I understand why people will like it because it's a compact story with an uplifting nature by the end of it. I need depth. I need subtlety. I don't like non-subtle things traditionally, and I don't think there's any subtlety to this show. It's strictly, we know something's wrong, let's fix it. Here's how we fix it. And it's just, it gets from point A to point B as quickly as possible, and it wraps it up in a nice little bow. That's boring to me. That said, the question I want to ask, and I think we're in a different era than when the show originally aired in the early 2000s? Was that right?
Yeah.
Like 2003 originally. Yeah.
And things have changed quite significantly since then, some for the better, some for the worse. But is this show exploitative still? because
I
it
don't
presents.
think so.
But maybe this is just the Jonathan Van Ness guy for me, because he is such a stereotype of a gay person that
Right.
it's not offensive, but is it saying, gay people are the ones to be able to fix this? Or is it saying we just happen to have gay people able to fix this?
I think the latter, yeah.
I think it is the latter overall. I think if I watched 2 seasons of this in a short span of time, I would be like, this is too much.
I think that it is the latter as well. And that was one of the things that I believe is a positive about the show, which is this show would not have to, the Fab Five, not a one of them would have to be gay.
Right.
So I like that they are. In a sense of like, you could have any number of reality shows and just simply saying like, yeah, you can have a gay guy host a reality show. There's more, just having diversity out there is cool. And also saying that like, and the original show apparently did this too, though I've not seen it, which is we have a team of 5 experts. Yeah, they happen to be gay, but this guy will fucking build you a new porch.
Right.
It's not all grooming or, things like that.
Well, and the other thing it does is sure, there are gay jokes or references like you're spending the day with 5 gay guys. That's the best time you could have.
Yeah.
But there's never I'm gay, therefore I'll be able to fix your mustache.
No, not at all.
It's never truly a part of fixing the problem.
It's all just like, it's all casual and harmless, I think.
So I agree with you guys. I just wanted to present that question because I think
Yeah.
it can be perceived that way, perhaps.
Yeah,
but I don't
because
think it really is.
some of them did play into the stereotype. Like you said, they seemed like they were gay. So you have to question that.
That's just a really, really funny thing. These
They
gay
seem
guys
like they
seem
were
gay
gay.
to me.
But it shouldn't be that way. Is the point I'm making though? Is like, you would not in actual life be able to identify a gay person. Like you shouldn't be able to know.
No.
So they're kind of showing
My manner of speaking or something has led people to believe me gay.
Oh, I've had that
times.
happen. I've had that happen.
Well, and for example, my uncle Jamie, dearly deceased Jamie, was very gay. And he was 80% of Jonathan Van Ness, more often than not.
Jamie was a very exuberant guy.
So that is a truth.
A bird of a different feather.
But is that a truth that Jamie acted that way because that's how he acted, or is it because
I feel like
what
that's
was
just
expected?
who he is, but I don't know. Or like, also, we've had a lot of heavy things we've talked about, but like, Jamie suffered through a lot.
He did.
So I feel like a good way to combat that in public is to be as big as you can be.
Yes.
Like in a certain way.
And ultimately, that's the thing. There will be gay guys like Jonathan Van Ness.
Sure.
There will also be gay guys like Karamo.
Wait.
Who just seems like a dude.
So wait, if you're gay, you also can have different kinds of personalities?
It's kind of weird, right? So, but we're all saying it together, essentially. This show doesn't necessarily play on that.
No,
it just happens.
They're not
almost
afraid
none.
they're not afraid to show you what the stereotypical gay is, but they also show you that it's not always that way. It seems like they just didn't really even consider what the perception of gay is in the
Which
show.
is awesome. Like, I feel like that's what you should be doing, is just doing your show.
Right.
And one cool thing I thought also is the show doesn't focus on let's find you a mate at all. It focuses on let's fix you up. And I like that. Like, a lot of times these shows are too focused on let's get ready for you to date.
Right. There was a line in the first one with Jonathan Van Ness talking about Thomas, and he was like, I just want him to feel like he's worthy of making out with some girl. He's like, okay, he could be fluid. I don't care. He's like, I just want him to feel like someone wants him, and he should have that.
And that seems to be that's when I liked Jonathan most in these 2 episodes, is when he's talking to Thomas and encourages him to be himself. It's fine that he's single. And what he's saying there too, like, be the best you, so someone wants to absolutely just go to town on that Thomas body.
On that Donald Glover lookalike.
Get you a lady who wants a power suit.
Woo! But I think that's enough. That's enough talking about Queer Eye. We've had a very fun time with our 2 episodes of Queer Eye.
I'm
nervous.
Man.
No, there's a huge thing happening I'm so excited about. You're going to tell me what Van is doing next week.
We're getting ready for part 2 of 3 of our segment of Boob Tube Hot Potato, essentially, where I choose a show for Van. But before I do that, I should let you know that, listeners, if you picked up on it, I've dropped a couple Easter eggs this episode as to the show that I will be selecting for Van.
See, the problem with this is perhaps I could figure it out, but I really wasn't paying attention to you the
No,
whole
I
time.
would. When I talk, people just tune out, and I understand
Well,
it. It's
it's
something
hard.
with my voice frequency.
It's not that. It's just there's so much that you got to come back with your own line. I got things I'm thinking about. I'm not thinking about what you're giving to Van. That's why I need to know right now.
No, and no one could notice anyway.
Oh,
But
real
first,
quick. Katie was working on something at my desk. I was sitting right where you were, Brian,
Why? How are you? Why were
My
you in
traditional
Brian's chair?
seat?
because I had that chair elsewhere.
What?
So I
Don't move
I
my
had to
chair.
clean and adjust shit. So I said, I guess I need to be Brian here. And Katie said something like, "Well, what does that mean?" And I went,
that's a different laugh, just for
"It
you.
was too hard. I couldn't
Yeah.
quite do it."
No, the giggles happen, and I don't know when they happen. When I hear the episodes, I'm like,
I don't
No,
notice.
they're cute.
no,
They're
I don't
endearing.
mind it. I don't mind it. I feel like somebody out there will be
Also,
like,
one of you just did a hip hop Harry laugh.
That was
and
me.
Can we do a hip hop Harry episode, sir?
We should. We haven't done a kids show yet.
Have you noticed
Really.
he wants cold water? Is he thirsty? Is he dying?
Van, what are some things that you are expressly not interested in? You're from Missouri. What are things you just can't stand?
Rednecks, guns, monster truck. No, I kind of like monster trucks. Okay, for small sample sizes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're pretty.
Rednecky stuff.
Yeah, like rednecks.
Okay, so that's what you got. for him.
Rednecks, guns, hunting, church, or whatever. Well, sometimes when you need to strike a batter out, you don't switch pitches. You throw a fastball, he thinks you're going off speed, you throw another fucking high heater.
Okay.
This was our first reality show. It's time for our second. Duck Dynasty follows a
Oh my
wealthy
God.
Louisiana family known for their successful duck hunting business. We'll be covering a pair of episodes from the show's Walmart Takeover heyday. These episodes can be found for free on Tubi or Pluto or on Hulu Premium or Amazon Prime.
You have outdone yourself. my friend.
The two
This is
episodes
amazing.
the two episodes we will be covering. Season 1, episode 13. So this is when the show's getting red hot.
Is it?
Redneck Road Trip. Jace volunteers to take the Duck Commander RV out on pickup, but neglects to mention to Willie he's taking Cy, Martin, and Jep along for a road trip.
You made all of this up. None
Back
of those
home-
are real names. Jep, Cy. Okay, Martin, I kind of get, but come on.
Back home, Phil and Willie have to use some redneck logic when Miss Kay calls them to get rid of a gator she found in the yard. Season 3, episode 8. That'll be a couple of weeks from now. Duck Be a Lady is the title of this episode. Sadie has a homecoming dance coming up, but Willie doesn't approve of her dress selection. Willie decides to take Sadie out to find her a new appropriate dress. Jace is in a bit of a predicament when the coffee machine at Duck Commander breaks.
I have been wondering for the past few weeks what I'm going to be covering, and I thought, well, he could do this because I knew it would be malicious toward me. I thought it
There
could
were
be,
two non-malicious options that I'm not going to tell you because I'm going to save them to
Sure, you might
surprise
use
you
them
and
later.
show you mercy at some point in the future.
But you did mention Glee, which that's not malicious, but like I wouldn't enjoy that in any capacity. It could have been Frasier. It could have been any number of things that really annoy me. Katie was hoping you would pick Rick and Morty.
Oh,
which-
that would be fascinating.
Maybe, because as Brian and I discussed off air, Rick and Morty, I'm sure is fine. You've seen some
Yeah,
of it.
you would watch episodes and you would laugh.
I would laugh.
You would.
It's
It would-
mostly the people who are fascinated with Rick and Morty that bother me because they're so
Yeah.
just obnoxious and stubborn. Anyway, but
And,
you
and
outdid
we know
yourself.
this. We watch baseball. Baseball fans are awful.
But you outdid yourself with Duck Dynasty.
Wow.
It wasn't
No,
even
I'm
my
amazed.
periphery.
So this was also, I'll give a little bit of backstory, even though I guarantee we're running long. So I had a show picked out for you. Originally, it was Glee. I changed that, and then last night before recording, or it was 2 nights ago, I changed it again to Duck Dynasty because it just flew into my mind like it was sent from God himself. And I texted a listener and friend of the podcast and sister of 1/3 of the podcast, AKJ519, and she immediately thought that Duck Dynasty was the right call, if you will.
It will be
Like a duck
fascinating.
call, guys.
Oh,
I
got it.
can't wait.
I understood.
I can't wait.
Because if there's something I hate more than anything else, and don't take me wrong, I'm sure they earn their money, but it's rednecks who got lucky because they got lucky creating the duck call and making billions of dollars. They did. I'm sorry. I know they made the thing. Good for them. They did it. But if you ever are in a situation like that, you're fucking lucky.
We're not even on to the episodes
But
yet.
it's true. You guys agree with
Well,
me,
of
right?
course. Of course that's
But
luck.
their whole mentality is like, I work so goddamn hard, and all you got to do is work as hard as I did, and you'll get it. You may have worked hard, but no, not
That's
everyone
the thing.
can
The
do that.
fallacy of a meritocracy in our country. That's a little bit of a problem.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah. Does anyone have any final thoughts before I go over kind of our deets here?
No, I think I'm prepared
That's
to watch.
You're
Duck
not prepared, but
No, but as much as I can.
Yeah. No, I think we're good. We talked.
You need to be nice to me because guess what happens after Duck Dynasty?
I don't know what happens.
You'll
Well,
see.
we're all going to find out. And speaking of finding, you can find Boob2Boys on Instagram or Twitter at Boob2Boys. You can find us on boobtwoboys.com where we write fun little articles, blog posts, whatever you want to call them. You can also donate to us on Patreon at patreon.com/Bootu Inc. And you can also, if you want, look us up individually on Twitter. I'm at Loud Guitar Brian Van.
At Manly Van Lee.
Spencer.
Number 3, French_hen.
And in honor of what we're about to do, yeah!
When it comes to grain, you don't have to do toast. You could do pancakes or biscuits. You know, you could interchange any of that. So it's varied. I like sausage. I like breakfast sausages. What the fuck is that?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
wait a sec.